Hey, folks. Today, I want to talk about the restorative properties of caffeine and nicotine, as well as some of the cons, because there are consequences to using things like these, but just like any substance, it depends on the form in which you're ingesting it, what other compounds may be in it, what you're mixing with it, and what mindset you're using it in, as well as the intention behind it. Now, I started smoking when I was 11 years old. It was the first day of high school for me. Um, it was not so much a peer pressure thing, but it was very similar. So I'd show up at this high school, and I'd be very displaced from all my friends' group. Like they, for the most part, were kids who were considered minorities, native kids, white kids, oddly enough, because I was in uh, like schools that were overwhelmingly uh, Asian schools, or when I went to a more popular public school, it was um, there's the Asian population, and they were already starting to form these kind of pseudo gangs, and uh, mind you, this is grade 5, grade 6, but it was happening all the way back then. And then there were the French immersion kids, and the French immersion kids hated us. They all came from very wealthy families. I mean, I came from a wealthy family. Good parents supported me, but I happened to live by a lot of the lower income families, so those were my friends. But I spent a year in Catholic school in grade 7, so I had kind of broken off from that those subsects of friends that I had hung out with back then, and they had made new acquaintances in that year. And so I show up at like pretty much the biggest school in uh, my municipality, which had 3,500 kids in it. It's a school that's very well known. Smallville was shot there, as well as other things. They filmed like one of the Scooby Doo sequels while I was there, I believe. And so I'm going around trying to find my friends, and they're all trying to hang with these Asian gangs or that Asian gang. I was just like, no, this isn't really my thing. I'm here to join a gang. I'm here to find some new friends and make some new long-lasting acquaintances. And so I get lost in all the hubbub of it. What do? I go out the back door. There's all these other misfits who had kind of the same idea. And they're just sitting there smoking cigarettes, And so, being a nasty little shit, I had a blue sort of faux hawk at the time that was turning blonde and eventually turned white, which gave me the nickname of Skunk because, hey, I don't know that I stink or anything, I just look like a skunk. Look like a skunk, So yeah, I asked them for a cigarette. And actually, that was the catalyst to becoming friends with these people. Not that I think it was like an initiation by any stretch, but that was my ticket in. And since then, I smoked for a very long time. I only stopped smoking last January, or this January, sorry. So just a few months ago, really. Uh, and when I was in high school and I was smoking cigarettes, I found my ADHD just sort of transmuted into ADD. Drop the H. I was so hyperactive before. I would bounce off the walls all of the time. Just sing, sang, sing, sang, sing, sang, sing, sang. Must have been intolerable. I always said, if me now met that kid, I'd be like, fuck, this kid is obnoxious. Because I'm a fairly low energy guy now. But, I do, in a weird way, credit nicotine for causing that change. Um, and I don't necessarily regret my years as a smoker, but I'm someone who feels like I need nicotine to function. And so I decided, I'm going to use it in one of the safer ways. And I know there is a vaporizer out there, iOS, IQS, something like that. It's a dry herb nicotine vaporizer, but I saw that my government had released this unsmoke campaign along with a series of ads to accompany it. And I could tell that this was something that they were doing in conjugate, essentially, with big tobacco. Some of the most evilest corporations on the world. They're like malicious, they're apathetic towards the effects of their products, and um, I knew that they were trying to get people onto these dry herb vaporizers that were supposed to simulate cigarettes, put these little tiny darts into them, and they look like little cigarettes. They last 2 minutes. I did research on these 10 years ago, or at least freebase ones. Which is what I primarily use. Salt kind of upsets my lung because I had pneumonia, and it left me with a bunch of scar tissue in my right lung. So I have to be careful. Plus, I like to be able to puff without getting fucking nauseous as a result, because you can very much overdose on salt. I'm just soaking my atomizer right now, but nicotine, though, has nootropic effects, from what I can tell. There is a reason that they gave it to mental health patients back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. You see it in the movie adaptation of this wonderful, wonderful book, which, is very, very different than the book itself. I personally prefer the book's portrayal of the story, but I also enjoy the movie for what it is. But I digress. So nicotine was or cigarettes anyways, were so effective in calming down people with severe issues like, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, bipolar, major depressive. It just, I think, because there are so many addicting elements of nicotine, like, just how you hold the cigarette. You can, for me, how you could gesticulate, because I like to talk with my hands, even though I may not necessarily know what I'm doing while I'm doing it. And so having a little, almost like a pointer, is something that helps. And it also does act as a bit of a pacifier, when you have anxiety, when you're stressed. But with cigarette smoking, like it just turns into the stressor after a while, because you need it in times of stress to feel that alleviation. And because of the freebase nicotine, which is like all cigarettes, at least in Canada now, are freebase nicotine, so it's essentially crack. It's the crack of cigarettes. Um, but yeah, so when I heard about cigarettes, they were so effective that there was actually like a big legal battle in I believe late 70s, early 80s, where pharmaceutical companies and doctors were trying to get a nicotine pill processed so they could use it on people who had these issues. But I believe that wouldn't have been effective anyways. I mean, I've tried nicotine gum, nicotine patches. They just tantalized me into wanting a cigarette even more. Um, but so I think it's like I say, it's these gestures, it's the pacifying nature that allows people to get that sense of relief. Now, cigarettes, though, are not a good form of achieving that relief. Because, last time I checked, it's like 69 different carcinogenic chemicals. It's in Canada full of all these regulatory compounds like carpet glue. Yes, carpet glue. I don't know if you've ever looked at a rolling paper or a cigarette. You see these little ribs on them. That's when they go up around like that. Uh, that is to stop the cigarettes from burning if no one's smoking them. There's all these reports of spontaneous combustion back in the 50s, 60s. That was because a lot of the people were falling asleep with a cigarette, and it would light something, and because that ember is burning very hot, just engulfed in flames and become cremated in no time. Uh, so spontaneous combustion, not a real thing. But in any case, um, these companies have big tobacco. They essentially poisoned the well when it came to nicotine because nicotine in itself is, yes, toxic in high doses. That's why it's used as a pesticide. It's like killing all the bees because it's latching onto their wings and scrambling their inner magnetic guiding system so they're not able to get back to the hive. But in humans, you need a lot to do that. You certainly can't overdose on nicotine, especially with stuff like this, but you'll get nauseous. You may throw up. That's about the extent of it. Um, so, nicotine has got a bad rap because of that. And similarly, coca, um, it also lives in the shadow of its, much more dangerous cousin, cocaine. And cocaine is something that is destroying so much of the world. And like it really, the only purpose I ever found cocaine served was uh, that it allowed you to keep drinking without blacking out. And a lot of people do that. And it's still got this like status as a high society type drug, even though it's used by people all over. And I think cigarettes are seen in the same light by the Canadian government anyways, because the taxes have been raised so much that it's like $22 for a pack of premium cigarettes. And, you can't afford that if you're a working man, so they think it must be upper class people who are doing this. So, consequentially, there are a lot of, like, contraband native cigarettes, which, are essentially tobacco swept off the floor in a factory and rolled together in a cigarette, and that use has gone up by 65% because of these tax hikes. But anyways, coca on the other hand, coca leaves, they have 50 plus vitamins, calcium, protein. There's a reason why they are a staple of many tribes in the Andes diet. They base their existence around finding coca leaves. So that, opens their blood vessels, their capillaries, helps with altitude sickness, something they need when they're living in high altitude locations. And I find, like, what has benefited me since I've used coca is that, for one, I very rarely drink coffee now. And I used to be a coffee fiend, 6 double shots a day. Um, at least 6 double shots a day. Not healthy. And caffeine you also crash from. So that's another issue. Also, the reason I'm so kind of frenetic a lot of the time is I'm prescribed dexedrine, high doses of dexedrine every day because of my ADD. Something I managed to get down from microdosing LSD. But I already do macrodoses of psychedelics, and so I don't want to overdo it. But coca, on the other hand, this wonderful beverage that you can mix with just about anything. Like I mix some mango green tea, honey, a little bit of lemon concentrate in, and it's just tastes amazing. As far as I can tell. And yeah, it's reduced my coffee consumption to almost zero. I'll have coffee, and maybe if a friend comes over, I'll make them like a latte or whatever. And because I like working with it, I have my barista training and all that. But it's helped reduce my consumption in those areas, and in addition, it has helped reduce my marijuana consumption as well. Because I'm someone who finds relief from my ADD by smoking pot. Not like if I smoke a lot of pot, then I'm just like, if I take 100 milligram edible, then I'm like, I can't do it. I'm lie here and I can't sleep because I can't sleep when I'm stoned. But like marijuana will essentially, it's like I can focus on what's in front of me. I can't focus on what's around me, but I can hone my focus into what's in front of me. So it's good for certain scenarios, but not all scenarios. Um, like I like to write fiction. It's good for that. But with coca, like you get kind of this buzz, and it's not so much like a buzz like you're high. It's a buzz like, oh hey, I'm awake now. And like for some people, like I use the max extract. It lasts about an hour for me, and then just kind of feel normal again. There's no crash, not even a caffeine level crash. Um, and Yeah, like it's like too much caffeine can give me migraines too. I never get that from this. Most people who use the max say they get a buzz that kind of spans the duration of the day. Like I've even got my mom who is like, I think she drinks a lot of wine, but that's about it. To try coca, and said she was, or well, she said she was a better driver, which is a big plus because I've had near-death experiences driving with her. She drives like a maniac, um, but she's a very effective driver. Just it's scary for the passenger. So I'll get behind anything that can improve that. But yeah, otherwise, I think nicotine, if you ingest it safely, and the safest way I think is these things. Snus, it's a product from uh, Norway, I believe. Norway, Denmark, I think Norway. Um, and like essentially, you get these little tobacco pouches, and really, they're strong as all hell. They have a lot of nicotine in them, depending on what you get, of course. Like this it's very fragrant. It's like nicotine salt with, I believe, licorice, like lemongrass, something like that, to give it a little bit of flavor. And it's sort of similar to dip, but without like gobbing and like salivating and just having to spit out this giant, disgusting, cancerous wad. Like you get a little bit of flavor, but that's about it. And you can get them in pouches like this, where it's just straight nicotine salt with a little bit of flavor. And those are the best ways. But I like to inhale, exhale when I'm using nicotine. Um, and like it legitimately does calm me down, help me focus, help reduce anxiety, and allow me to function at a better level. So I would really say, if you don't need nicotine, don't use it. If you do, use it in a safer form. Use it in something like this. Use it in something like this. Um, if need be, get one of those IQS vapes or whatever, but I can't speak for those. The FDA says they're 90% or 95% more safe than traditional cigarettes, but considering the amount of stuff that big tobacco already puts in cigarettes that really don't need to be there, I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. Actually, I could probably throw those things pretty fucking far, but I don't trust them. I'll put it that way. Now, I would say if you can get coca extract, try it. If you do a lot of cocaine, try this instead. It's very similar. It feels like, and I've done very pure cocaine multiple times. I've gotten it straight from the source, straight from the tit, the mother's milk, the 99% pure stuff from Honduras, and like, it doesn't feel like normal cocaine. You don't feel jittery and all over the place. Like you just feel, oh, this is nice. Like it has that same effect, just kind of like Dexedrine or something. Because when you have ADD, it has an antithetical effect. It gives you like a sort of sedation and a focus as opposed to oh my god, dude, like fuck, I'm on top of the world. And I've got these business ideas and I'm gonna start them tomorrow, and I'm gonna make some investments. They're gonna make me a lot of money, and holy fuck, I'm so high. Let me do more cocaine. No, no, pure cocaine, like you do it, and it's like, oh, okay, this is chill. But I don't recommend you do cocaine at all because it's a terrible drug. This feels like, one cup kind of feels like doing a little kind of key bump, and but it lasts longer, and you don't get that come down. Um, so I'd recommend it if you can do it. Anyways, just thought I would throw that out there. I'm going to do another video, maybe another after that, just back to back to back to back. So yeah, hopefully you don't mind seeing my pale ass chest here. And firm believer in not being restricted by clothes, socks, and stuff like that when I'm in my own house. So hopefully you can tolerate it. And, yeah, make as many jokes as you want about me being as flat as a fucking ironing board. But I work out an hour, 2 hours a day, 2 hours yesterday, and I do an hour this morning. I just do my metabolism. I cannot accumulate fat at all. I need fat to build muscle, so I can only really refine muscle. I can't build it. It sucks. But in any case, yeah. So I just want to say, these are my thoughts on these things: nicotine and coca. So yeah, share your thoughts, your experiences with smoking, with drinking coffee, with coca if you've tried it. And yeah, because I'm always interested in your feedback. And yeah, any video ideas, recommendations, I'm happy to take them on. Anyways, yeah, synthetic, not so spiritual. Shaman. Bye bye.